My name's Tim Hammond. My connection to Guntersville was I was the keyboard player in the band with Pat Upton and Headline. That was the house band at PJ's Alley where Ricky played. And we were kind of their hosts for the weekend that they performed here because Pat was obviously connected to Ricky from being a member of the Stone Canyon Band in the past. I guess in my age group of people, we remembered, his hit song Garden Party, a couple other things that he recorded, and then, some reruns of Ozzie and Harriet. But by the time I was old enough to, be aware of that stuff, it was reruns from the past. Just from, like I said, from the reruns, we were, I was familiar with him from that. We knew that he was coming, obviously, because Pat, being the lead singer in our band, was the person that got him to come here, and so we knew ahead of anybody else. I couldn't tell you, that was almost 40 years ago, so I couldn't tell you how far in advance we knew that this was going down, but we knew that it was going to happen. I was at both shows for the duration. And the things I remember most about it was they were pretty much sold out shows, and the place was packed for both. And it was 40 years ago, so it was, a lot of the memories are vague. I do remember Jeff Cook from the group Alabama, that was the lead guitar player for the group Alabama, was here for both shows. Jeff was a huge fan of Ricky, but he was a huge fan of old rock and roll.
Do you know the story of the boa constrictor that was in the amp?
Absolutely. That was the big story of the weekend in some ways, because it made the front page of the local paper. We came into the club like the afternoon later after they set up, and there's this stench of something dead in there. Was there a dead rat under the stage? So we get to looking around on the stage, and then we find the dead boa in the back of Ricky's amp, which belonged to one of his kids, the Nelson twins. They were little dudes at the time. The impact of him coming here was a big deal. It was a big deal to get a big star like that to small town Guntersville. It was a big event. It was something everybody was talking about for days before and for weeks afterward. I was already home by the time that I got the news. Our lead guitar player Damon Johnson called me that afternoon. It seemed like it was in the late afternoon, maybe, that I got the word, and it was one of those things. That is something I remember pretty vividly, was when I answered the phone, and it was probably just something about the tone of Damon's voice, and it was, "Hey man, are you sitting down?" or something like that. But I just had this eerie feeling that something bad was wrong when he said, "Hey man, it's Damon." And then that's how I got the news. Guys my age and older remember him pretty well, and I think the younger generation, I've told that story, the whole story of Rick coming here, the events of the weekend, the plane crash, everything, to younger people. They don't even know who I'm talking about. They don't have a clue. But it's a generational thing. But I think Rick was an influential artist in his time. I felt like, and he was. At a time, so that the rockabilly thing that he did so well was, he was really good at it, and he was still out there just trying to make his way, and he did a lot of movie work too. He did a lot of movies in addition to television. So, I was there all the way to the end at the airport till I watched him fly away, and. I think I have more memories of that day, of things that happened at the airport regarding the plane and all that, than a lot of the weekend, the concerts and all that stuff are kind of a blur now. But I have some pretty vivid memories of things that happened, that day at the airport, because we were all there. And I'm sure Greg will be, conveying all that story too. But we loaded their stuff up and hauled it over to the airport for them, got it loaded in the plane, and, kind of hung around until they got ready to go.